In April, Apple shipped its most secure chip ever. In May, 2 researchers and a chatbot broke it in 5 days. They have a 55-page report on exactly how. It may never be published, even after the fix. That's the story. For 25 years, cybersecurity ran on a simple bargain. Find a bug, tell the vendor, wait for the patch, then publish the details so everyone learns. 2 halves. The first half still holds. In the first 2 weeks of May 2026, the second half quietly broke. Apple's M5 chip introduced something called memory integrity enforcement. Apple themselves called it the culmination of an unprecedented design and engineering effort, spanning half a decade. 5 years of work by some of the best in the industry. A Vietnam-based security startup called Calif got preview access to Anthropic's new model, Claude Mythos. On April 25th, with Mythos as a collaborator, they started looking. By May 1st, they had a working data-only kernel local privilege escalation chain. 5 days. Apple confirmed it. The macOS 26.5 update credits Calif and Anthropic in a single careful line. Now Calif has a 55-page technical report on exactly how they did it. Holding it back until the patch ships is nothing new. That has been the rule for 25 years. Here is what is new. Once Apple ships the fix, the old bargain says you publish that report, so everyone learns. That is the step that just died. Because the write-up that teaches defenders now teaches the model. 3 days before Calif's announcement, Google's threat intelligence group disclosed something different. They had found an attacker using an AI model to build a zero-day. In the wild, not theoretical. The target, an unnamed popular web administration tool. The flaw, a 2-factor authentication bypass caused by developers hard coding a trust exception into their login flow. Google won't name the tool, won't name the model, won't share the script, but they will tell you how they knew an AI wrote it. The attack code came with educational docstrings, textbook, clean Python formatting, and, embedded in a comment, a fabricated CVSS score, the standard severity rating used by security researchers. Attackers don't rate their own malware. Models do. Because the model was trained on every vulnerability database that's ever been public. It produced an exploit and politely included the paperwork. Here is the part the news coverage didn't quite land. The database that defenders maintain for transparency is also the corpus that taught the attacker's model how to read this kind of flaw. Mozilla patched 423 security bugs in Firefox in April. Their 2025 monthly average was about 21. That is 20 times normal. 270. One of those bugs came from Claude Mythos running against the Firefox codebase. 180 rated high severity, meaning exploitable by visiting a malicious web page. Some of these bugs were old. A use after, free in the XLT engine that had been sitting in the code base for 20 years. 2 decades of human auditing missed it. The model found it in days. The same month, Palo Alto Networks ran Mythos and OpenAI's GPT-5.5 Cyber against their own products. They found 75 vulnerabilities. Their normal monthly count is fewer than 5. Palo Alto's own estimate organizations have 3 to 5 months before attackers broadly gain access to capabilities like these. The number you don't see on most of these charts, the public CVE count for the month, has barely moved. Defenders are finding more bugs than they ever have. And they are publishing fewer of the details than they ever have. While defenders use Mythos to find bugs faster, attackers are doing something different. They are wiring large language models into the malware itself. EST disclosed PromptSpy in February. It is the first known Android malware to use generative AI at runtime. When PromptSpy lands on a phone, it captures the layout of whatever app is on screen, sends that to Google's Gemini API, and asks the model how to keep itself pinned in the recent apps list so it can't be killed. Gemini answers with tap and swipe instructions. The model is, in effect, navigating the device on the attacker's behalf. Around the same time, VirusTotal flagged a wave of poisoned skill packages in the open Claw ecosystem. Agentic skill bundles that look legitimate, but contain hidden routines to run unauthorized code, exfiltrate data, and pull down payloads. The defender's edge, The assumption that the bug finders are ahead of the bug exploiters depends on attackers being slow to adapt. Attackers are not being slow. Not everyone is convinced. A firm called Barracuda runs something they call the Mythos Hype Index. It currently sits at 90, 4 out of 100. Their argument the predicted AI-driven vulnerability surge hasn't materialized because the public CVE count isn't spiking. They're not wrong about the chart. They are wrong about what the chart means. Look at what happened in the same fortnight. Calif wrote a 55-page report on the M5 exploit, the kind of write-up that used to become a public reference and signaled it may never be published. Google disclosed a real-world AI built 0-day and refused to name the vendor, the tool, or the model. Apple credited the find in a single sentence, where it once would have written pages. Mozilla shipped 423 patches in a month, with quiet, collapsed advisories on most of them. Same fortnight, 4 disclosures, the same instinct, publish less. Because when the model has raided every vulnerability database that has ever been public, the disclosure to the vendor still happens. It is the publication after the fix that changed. The write-up that used to be a fence around the bug is now a treasure map. The public CVE chart is flat because filings stop being safe. If public disclosure is no longer safe, something has to replace it. Something is. This week, Microsoft revealed a system they call MDASH. It is not one model. It is more than 100 specialized agents working in 3 stages. One set scans for vulnerabilities, another debates whether the findings are real, and a third constructs proof of concept exploits to confirm them. On the CyberGym benchmark, 1,500 real-world vulnerability tasks, MDASH scores 8.45%. Mythos Preview comes in second, GPT 5.5 third. Microsoft used it to find 16 new Windows flaws, 4 critical, before disclosing them in this week's Patch Tuesday. Around that runs Project Glasswing, Anthropic's program for giving early access to Mythos, but only to about 50 trusted organizations. Major US banks Mozilla, Calif, Palo Alto. The pattern is consistent across all of them. Closed access to the strongest model, patches landed first, public credit kept terse. The new shape of security isn't transparency, it's closed club coordination. The CVE database was built to make security public, to make defenders smarter, to make the next vendor learn from the last vendor's mistakes. Every model trained on the open web has read it. What broke in May 2026 wasn't a chip or a browser or a web admin tool. Those got patched. What broke was the assumption that describing a bug was safe once the fix shipped. The defender's database trained the attacker's model. That is the shift the leaderboards and the hype indexes are not measuring. It will be the shift that shapes the next decade of cybersecurity. If transparency was the feature, then transparency is now the bug.